exec, el Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez, el fenómeno que todos quieren ser, el chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to episode 135 of the Exec Talk Podcast. I am your host, El Velez. How we doing? Big weekend for sports. The return of full-time college football. The return of Formula One to Monza, and a giant result for the home team, let's say. IndyCar, with one race left, has a shootout at the top for the championship. NASCAR has a new winner this season. Bumps out. Streaks were ended in a crazy Southern 500 at Darlington. We're going to break down the last two divisions in football that we have not broken down, the NFC West and the AFC West. We're going to talk about some baseball because we are a month away from the playoffs. There's 1 month left in this season, and we got some battles going on for the wild card. We got some battles going on for divisions, and it's going to come down to the wire in some of these races. And finally, we're going to prepare you for what's coming. Okay? Football is officially back this week. Thursday is Ravens, Chiefs in Arrowhead. Banner night is going to be great. So, welcome. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on all my socials. Hit the comments. Let's get it. First of all, Formula One. What can I say? Doesn't disappoint. The drama is high tense as always. Norris gets the pole. Oscar behind him. And Russell. The start comes. It seems like Lando gets the lead after turn one, but Oscar passed him going into a scar. It was crazy move. Crazy move. Not a lot of people make that move. He made it stick. He took off. Pit stops come. Leclerc grabs the lead. Actually, no. Pit stops come. The order stays kind of the same. Verstappen started seventh. Lewis, they were kind of out of it most of the race. It was really between Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc. And it looked, for the most part, that Norris was dominating. Norris was going to win. But in the last pit stop, what Ferrari decided to do was not pit. They went for the one stop. They put hards on, thinking that they will survive. And Norris came in and had to catch up and finished, unfortunately, like 2.8 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Unfortunately, so Norris couldn't. He ate up a little bit of the points lead by Verstappen, but they didn't get the manufacturer's points, which they could have. And they didn't cut into Verstappen's lead as much as they needed to with the win. Leclerc wins for Ferrari in the home of Ferrari at Monza with Maranello 15 minutes away. The Tifosi were absolutely going ecstatic. Shout out to Ferrari pulling themselves out of the shithole, basically. Like the last few years, you mentioned Ferrari, and it was blunder on the pits, blunder in strategy, and this was completely the opposite. Fred Vasseur called a great race, saw the strategy how it was, and it was really nice to see Charles Leclerc to win. Wins at Monaco, where he was born. Wins at the home as his manufacturer's home track at Monza in an Italian Grand Prix, his second Italian Grand Prix win. Really, really great, winning from fourth, which is insane at that track if you understand how difficult it is to pass and also to follow at that track. Very, very difficult. But shout out to Charles Leclerc. Norris and Verstappen are closer, but Verstappen still has a lead. And then in the manufacturers, McLaren still has a shot. But over the next 7 races, like, they better like buckle up, because if not, Verstappen's gonna win his 3rd championship in a row. Or would it be his 4th? His 4th championship in a row. That would be ridiculous if he runs 4 in a row. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but the way things stand right now, McLaren has the fastest car, but they just have to finish out wins. Let's get to IndyCar. They went to Milwaukee, doubleheader weekend. Alex Palou wins the first one on Saturday. And then the second one is won by Scottie McLaughlin in a crazy weekend. But the big thing to take away from this weekend, that Alex Palou leads by 33 points, heading to Phoenix, the last race of the season, another oval track. I still think Palou will win his 3rd championship. There's just something about that kid when he really just gets in a groove. Like, you can't let him be in the front. If you let him be in the front, he will dice you up. At the Oval on Sunday, he could have walked out basically winning the championship, but didn't even start the race. Electrical problems didn't even let him start the race while they were pacing. He lost 28 laps, came back out, but still finished well enough at 20th or 19th because of so much attrition that happened throughout the race, that including Will Power hitting the wall and stuff like that. That basically, kept him in the lead. Because at one point in the race, Will Power was up in the playoff points for the championship, but Palou escapes out of there. So shout out to Scottie Mac and Pato O'Ward. It's between Will Power and Alex Palou. That's what the championship is between. Whoever finishes better in Milwaukee, although 32 points is a lot. So he basically has it cinched up. But, if anything happens, then, Power will sneak up on him. But right now, it's Palou's to lose. In NASCAR, a crazy Southern 500, seeing Chase Briscoe find his way into the countdown after he got announced that he will drive the 19 for JGR, for Joe Gibbs Racing next year, that Martin Truex Jr. is retiring from full-time NASCAR after 19 years. Chase was not leading the whole race. It was Kyle Larson. He led over more than 200 laps. This is a 4-hour race, one of the longest stock car races ever. Not like the Coca-Cola 600, but, pretty darn close. Tyler Reddick wins the regular season championship, while dealing with almost puking in his car. He finished 7th. Absolutely amazing drive. Had a fast car, kept it off the wall, for the most part. It's a really, really tricky racetrack to race. Martin Truex Jr. crashed on lap 2 and crashed Blaney as well. Blaney was in already in the countdown. So when the crash happened, Martin Truex dropped down all the way to basically missing the playoffs by 0 points, tied with, I believe it was Chris Buescher or Bubba Wallace. At the end of the race, he didn't race anymore. He literally crashed out lap 2, didn't race no more. at the end of the race, he was 13 points to the good and made it into the countdown. Bubba Wallace stayed out. Kyle Busch didn't make it. Kyle Busch finished second. He finished second. Really unfortunate. He was catching Chase, but couldn't do it. Kyle Larson should have won, but he got passed on the last restart. Just a hell of a charge by Chase Briscoe. Stuart Haas is closing their doors, the team that he races for. He just got announced as a 19 driver for next season. So this builds real momentum for him for next year, but also he can win a championship. He's in the countdown. He has a win. The championship begins next week at Atlanta, which is a really nice track, fast. I expect Larson to be pretty good there, as well as Tyler Reddick. For my championship hopefuls before they start, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and I would say Joey Logano. I think those. Oh, and Denny Hamlin. Those are your favorites right there. Those are your big boys. Especially with Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, the way they've been racing all year. Christopher Bell's a sneaky one. He's been really, really good all year. And then you always got to watch out for Denny. Sleepers, Chase Briscoe. Busher made it in. Ty Gibbs made it in. He could win a championship. That'd be crazy in his rookie year and rookie season. But, yeah, those excited that we got to the last 10 races of the season. We get to see who's going to add to that legacy and add a championship to it. Scotty Scheffler wins the FedEx Cup to put a bow and wrap on a wonderful, extremely successful, and legendary year in golf, starting with the win at the Masters, winning the gold medal. I believe he won another major. It escapes me right now. I think he won the PGA Championship, but I don't want to be wrong about that. 7 victories throughout the year, one or two major titles, gold medal, and a FedEx Cup. Couldn't write it any better. Number one golfer in the world, and the guy who's everybody's going to be chasing from now on for years to come. I think Xander's right there with him. And if they ever unite again, then John Rahm and I think Dustin Johnson, those guys, Cameron Smith, I think those guys will be back in the hunt. But they have to unite again, the PGA and LIV. All right, let's get to college football. First of all, we got to talk about how Georgia destroyed Clemson, 48-17. The main thing about Clemson is Dabo does not want to rely on the transfer portal, and what happens there is that you face teams that do rely on the transfer portal or have a great recruiting class, just like Georgia has, but uses the portal to basically add to their riches and cover their holes if there is any, with talent and experience. When you don't do that, there is a drop-off from your first string to your second string, and that drop-off, you can definitely see it, from Clemson. Georgia looks dominant. Carson Beck looks great. Need to see them against better competition. I know the offensive line's going to be good. Their runners are good. The defense is pretty good. They're the number one team in the nation for a reason. I don't see why they shouldn't be. 48-17 is mighty well to me. So we'll see how they keep on keeping it on. I barring anything crazy, I expect them to go undefeated. Miami beat Florida by 48-17. Let me tell you the score for Georgia Clemson. My bad, guys. I just wrote it and I forgot to write the actual. Here we go. So 34-3, so even worse. 34-3. Clemson just couldn't do nothing. Cade Klubnik They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't really pass the ball. There's a reason, Clemson was 14 and maybe should have been lower than that. Then we go to Penn State, West Virginia, 34-12. Penn State looked a little sluggish at the beginning, but then Drew Adler and Nick Singleton took over. Penn State looks really good this year. Iowa won 40-0. You scored 40 points. I think you hadn't done that in 40 years, bro. Like, them scoring 40 points is really impressive, but it's against Illinois State, so I expect that. Virginia Tech loses against Vanderbilt, 34-27 in double overtime. Maryland beats UConn 50-7. Louisville destroys Austin Peay 62-0. Purdue destroys Indiana State 49-0. You got Pitt destroying Kent State 55-24. Bucknell destroying Navy 49-21, so destroying Navy. You got Tennessee destroying Chattanooga 69-3. Their quarterback I'm gonna try to say this. Hold up. Yamaleva is their quarterback's name. Nico Yamaleva. I've been seeing this kid since high school, since 7-on-7s and stuff like that. The kid's really good. He has all the talent in the world. So Tennessee's there's gonna be a problem this year for sure. Oklahoma State 44-20 against South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. Cincinnati 38-20 against Townsend. Washington State 70-30 versus Portland State. Ohio State 52-6. They have a new receiver. His name is Jeremiah Smith. It looks like another great one alongside Emeka Ibuka. And then their new quarterback, Will Howard, looks really good. Looks very solid. So we'll see how he keeps on going, but he looks very solid. Texas 52-0 destroys Colorado State. Ewers played great. So did Archie Manning. He threw his first touchdown pass. UM annihilates University of Florida. Like I said, what happened? Cam Ward. Just what can you say about this kid? I saw him at Washington State last year go toe-to-toe against Oregon. And here with Jacoby George and Restrepo and, Arroyo, like all the weapons that he has, he goes for 385. He goes for 26 out of 35, 385, 11 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was crazy. It was off the calf of somebody. I shouldn't have done it, but he had a QBR of 95.7. Rushing-wise, we didn't have much. 65 by Damian Martinez. We rushed for 144 total. Well, not a lot. Mark Flesher had 2 touchdowns. And then receiving, Xavier Restrepo got 7 for 112 with 1 touchdown along a 40. Elijah Arroyo had 4 for 89. Isaiah Horton had 4 for 70. Elijah Lofton had 2 for 38. Jacoby George, 2 for 25. I thought he would be more involved. And then Cam McCormick, the 29-year-old, the 9th-year player, he scored the first touchdown of the game. It was just a complete domination. Nothing else. I mean, Graham Mertz got hurt. Didn't do much anyway. 11 for 20, 91 yards, 4.6 yards, an attempt, 1 interception, 19.1 QBR. Nobody could, Montrell Johnson got 1 big run for 71 yards, but other than that, it's 11 for 106. Eugene Wilson, or Trey Wilson, how they call him, he only got 7 catches for 50 yards, so they couldn't get him going. Elijah Badger got 3 for 43. I mean, we couldn't do shit. Okay? Florida couldn't do nothing. It's going to be another bad year. It's unfortunate because the SEC is basically running away from us. And UM looks really, really good, and I expect them to be there in the playoffs at the end. Indiana destroys FIU 31-7. Nebraska with Raiola destroys UTEP 40-7. This kid looks good against Colorado this week. We shall see what it is between Shador and him. to see the future of this Raiola kid. He was the number one quarterback coming out of high school, number one recruit. He went to Matt Rule because in Nebraska because his father played at Nebraska. So a guy that could possibly be at an Alabama, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State goes to Nebraska. So this kid is going to put Nebraska on the map, I believe so, if they have the talent around them to do so. Eastern Michigan beats UMass 28-14. Appalachian State beats ETSU. Iowa State beats North Dakota by 21-3. Syracuse beats Ohio 38-22. UTSA beats Kennesaw State 28-16. Air Force beats Merrimack 21-6. Northwestern beats Miami of Ohio 13-6. Western Illinois loses to Northern Illinois 54-15. Boise State beats Georgia Southern 56-45. That's a little closer than somebody expected. Old Dominion loses against South Carolina 23-19. That's close. Stony Brook loses against Marshall 45-3. California wins 31-13 over UC Davis. North Texas beats South Alabama 52-38. Eastern Kentucky loses against Mississippi State 56-7. Liberty beats Campbell 41-24. Virginia beats Richmond 34-13. East Carolina beats Norfolk State 42-3. Oregon State without DJU beats Idaho State 38-15. Alabama destroys Western Kentucky 63-0. And they have a 17-year-old receiver called Ryan Williams that reclassified so he can go to Alabama, basically said no to senior year in high school. And first two catches, this man goes for, I believe, $1. I'll tell you guys right now. Jalen Milroe went 7 for 9 for 200 yards. He threw 9 passes. 7 for 9. Average of 22.2 yards a pass, 98.7 QB rating. Justin Haynes ran for 4 carries, 102 yards, so that a long of 85, so that's efficient. And then Ryan Williams, 2 catches, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 484. So they lost Burton, and they lost Bond to Texas, but they just got another kid that's explosive. Ole Miss beats Furman 76-0. Jackson Dark looks great. Kansas State beats UT Martin 41-6. Arkansas State beats Central Arkansas 34-31. South Florida beats Bethune-Cookman 48-3. Baylor beats Tarleton State 45-3. UNLV beats Houston 27-7. So that's interesting. Houston losing. They used to be good the last few years. Tennessee Tech loses against Middle Tennessee State 32-25. Sam Houston State wins against Rice 34-14. Nevada beats Troy 28-26. Memphis beats North Alabama 40-0. Oregon beats Idaho 24-14. That's an interesting score. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the season. Dylan Gabriel not blowing out Idaho. That's interesting. Notre Dame survives against Texas A&M. Riley Leonard played just good enough to win. Wigman for Texas A&M missed a couple throws, couple easy ones here and there, and Notre Dame escapes from College Station 1-0, and still with everything in front of them. Michigan 30-10 versus Fresno State. They got Texas next week, so it's going to be interesting what this Michigan team looks like. 2 different QBs. You have Orji, and then you have, yes, that's his actual name. It's O-R-J-I, Orji. And then you also have Davis Warren, He went for 15 for 25 for 118 yards. Or Alex Orji went 1 for 2 for 3 yards, but he ran for 32 yards. Colston Loveland went 8 for 87 yards. The really good tight end. Donovan Edwards went 11 for 27 yards rushing. 30-10 Fresno State. We would have thought that they would have done better there, you know. Auburn 73-3 against Alabama and A&M. UCLA beats Hawaii 16-3. That's another interesting score. Texas Tech beats Abilene Christian 52-51. Texas Tech in another shootout. What's new? Kentucky beats Southern Miss 31-0. BYU beats Southern Illinois 41-13. Georgia Tech beats Georgia State 35-12, so they're 2-0. SMU beats Houston Christian 59-7. Louisiana beats Grambling 40-10. Louisiana Tech beats Nichols 25-17. Texas A&M Commonwealth loses against San Diego State 45-14. Utah State and Robert Morris. Utah State 36-14. James Madison 30-7 over Charlotte. Texas State 34-27 over Lamar. New Mexico State 23-16 over Southeastern Missouri. Arizona beats New Mexico 61-39. Arizona State beats Wyoming 48-7. And then Washington beats Weber State 35-3. And right now, as we speak, Boston College is beating Florida State 28-13. Florida State being the 10th team in the nation. DJU is stinking it up right now. DJU's 15 for 32, 208 yards, a touchdown and a pick. So I don't know why. So Thomas Castellanos, which is the BC quarterback, he's thrown 10 for 14, 106, 2 touchdowns. So that's efficient. They're rushing the ball pretty good. Trayshawn Ward has 10 carries for 73 yards. Kyle Robichaud has 14 for 46. And then Castellanos has 10 for 41 rushing. And then Trayshawn Ward has 3 for 61 in the air. So I don't know what's happening. Might be a defensive score. Let's see. Punting, kicking, punt returns, interceptions. Max Tucker, no TD. In that interception, what about this one? Is there any interceptions? No, Florida State has no interceptions. 28-13, starting the fourth quarter. Yeah, 10th team in the that doesn't look good for Florida State, and with surging, I don't think that's very good for Florida State. So that is what happened in NCAA. Now let's talk about the NFC West and the AFC West. Okay, let's get to cooking because this is the last 2 divisions left. Okay, so NFC West. What I think is probably the toughest division in the NFC, personally, just because of the Rams, Seattle, and San Francisco. Arizona might be a sleeper team for some of you. When you look at the AFC West, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's kind of a weak division, but could be strong depending if people show up or not. But let's start with the Rams. The Rams, to me, are going to be not a sleeper team. I think the Rams are going to be good this year. I just have a feeling that Stafford and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp are just going to have one of those good years. You know, Stafford stays healthy, Cooper stays healthy, Nacua dominates like last year. Kyron has a special year on the ground, and the defense is going to be better than what we think. So Jimmy Garoppolo's on this team, but Matthew Stafford is starting. Blake Corum might be a sleeper back there, even though Kyron Williams should be the guy. You have Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, which is and then DeMarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, the rookie from Texas, at your receivers. This is where it's going to start you're going to start asking yourself, like, who is that? Davis Allen for tight end. You have Hunter Long, Colby Parkinson, which used to be playing for the Seattle. And that's it. Like, not really any names there. When it comes to the tight end room, it's Rob Havenstein, Jonah Jackson, Kevin Dotson, Joe Noteboom, Warren McClendon Jr., Ulrich Jackson, like that. That's your offensive line. We'll see. And then you got Braden Fisk, rookie out of Florida State. He should be good. Kobe Turner should be good this year. Michael Hoyt should be good this year. Then you have Troy Reeder, Christian Roseboom, Omar Spates, Jared Verse, the rookie out of Florida State. He should be good this year. I expect some explosiveness from him. Byron Young is your number one pass rusher until Jared Verse decides to be that. Then you have Kobe Bryant on the outside, along with Tre'Davious White, which should be really good, that combination. You have Cameron Curl. You have John Johnson, pretty good at safety. Cameron Kitchens, the rookie from UM, he should be really good. And Jalen McCullough, I believe his second year out of the rookie out of Tennessee. So the roster is a little, if top heavy, very top heavy, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So regular season, it starts like this. Rams, Lions, you're losing against the Lions in Detroit. Against the Cardinals, first division matchup of the year in Arizona, Kyler versus Stafford. I'm going to go Stafford just because Kyler has to develop chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. They still have to get that running game going. So I'm going to go Rams in week 2. You're going to lose against the 49ers, even though it's in SoFi. Against the Bears, you win in Chicago. I think that your experience lets you win that game, although it's going to be a tough game. Against the Packers, you lose in SoFi. You lose against the Packers. You beat the Raiders in SoFi. You beat the Vikings in SoFi. You go to Seattle, and you lose. You lose to Seattle. In Seattle. SoFi versus the Dolphins, you lose. You lose versus the Dolphins. You win in the Patriots in Foxborough. Against the Eagles in SoFi, I think you win that one. I think you summon enough offensive firepower and you're at home. I think you stun the Eagles at home. Against the Saints in New Orleans, you should win that. No problem, really. You have the advantage receiver-wise in totality because Chris Olave is one dude, and also in talent and quarterback. Against the Bills in SoFi, I think you lose. I think you lose that game. You lose against the 49ers again, this time at Candlestick, in Santa Clara. Then against the Jets in New York, depending on Aaron Rodgers' health at this point. But I think you lose that just because you're facing that vaunted defense. Against the Cardinals in SoFi, you win that. And then against the Seahawks in SoFi, you win that. So we're looking at a 9 to 10 win team. Perfectly acceptable. Maybe a wild card. I don't think they'll win the division, but definitely a wild card team. There could be 3 wild card teams coming from this division. I believe that Stafford still has it as long as he doesn't get hurt. I believe Cooper Kupp is in for a revenge year after a couple down years with injuries and stuff like that since his Triple Crown in the Super Bowl. And I believe Puka Nacua is the truth, along with Kyron Williams. And that defense is going to be better than what we think. I think Byron Young, Jared Verse, and Braden Fisk are going to make and Tre'Davious White are going to make that defense better than we think. So I got them like a 10-win team, 11-win team, max 12. when you call into question maybe like games like against the Bills or the Jets, stuff like that. I think I think they're gonna be a good team. I don't know if they're gonna get to the end. But once you get into the playoffs, you never know. But I think they're gonna be a good team. They're gonna rebound from last year. Next, Seattle. Lot of unknowns. Why is there a lot of unknowns? New head coach. That's why a lot of unknowns. New head coach. No Pete Carroll there no more. Not the savvy veteran with energy, the Hall of Famer. No. We got Geno Smith and Sam Howell. Geno Smith, obviously the starter. Zach Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh from Georgia, and Kenneth Walker are your running backs. Pretty good. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker especially. I like Kenny. I've always liked him since Georgia. Jake Bobo is not supposed to. The kid's from UCLA. He's in his second year. I think the kid's going to pop this year. He's just been doing it at training camp. I expect him to be a good target for Geno. Maybe not the number 1 or number 2 option, but definitely put in some production this year for Jake Bobo. Tyler Lockett, old reliable. He's going to have over 85% catch percentage. Just one of the best hands ever in the history of the league. You have DK Metcalf, your number 1 option, your freak. I expect a lot more from him this year, maybe 1,300 yards. I expect Geno to really hit him a lot. Laviska Shenault as a 4th option. I think that he can be Debo-like. That's what he was in Colorado when he got drafted. Maybe get a new lease on life from being with the Carolina Panthers. And then JSN could turn into the number 1 receiver, could turn into the target monster because he could do anything intermediate. Best route runner in the team by him and Tyler Lockett, I would say. And I think it's a great 1, 2, 3. And if Laviska Shenault or Jake Bobo hit like they're supposed to hit, it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or a 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's very good. Then they have A.J. Barner, Farrell Brown, and Noah Fant. Noah Fant is your starter. Then you got Lakens Tomlinson, Charles Cross in his 3rd year, George Fant, Stone Forsythe, Michael Jarrell, Satoa Laumea, and Jalen Sundell. And Connor Williams. Pretty good. Not too up, not too down. I expect Charles Cross to be really good this year. Connor Williams. I don't know where Abraham Lucas went, but he's not on here. So that's very interesting. And then you go to the defensive side. You got Draymond Jones. You got Leonard Williams. Snacks, basically. Jonathan Hankins. Byron Murphy the second. That kid's going to be great. I expect him to have a J.J. Watt-esque type of impact. Chris Jones. Like, that's the type of guy we're talking about here in the inside. I expect him to be really, really good, really, really fast. You have Jerome Reed, Jerome Baker, Terrell Dotson, Travis Gibson. You still have Tyrese Knight, Boye Mafe. He's going to be really good. Uchenna Nwosu, which is their number 1 pass rusher as of this point. You got Trey Brown, Kobe Bryant, Nehemiah Pritchett, Devon Witherspoon, which should be shut down. Reek Woolen, who should be shut down. You have Rayshawn Jenkins and Julian Love as your safeties, and Kayvon Wallace. Overall, good team. Solid roster, especially in the NFC. Against the Broncos in Seattle, you win that. Against the Patriots in Foxborough, you win that. Against the Dolphins in Seattle, you lose that. Against the Lions in Detroit, you lose that. Against the Giants in Seattle, you win that. Against the 49ers in Seattle, you lose that. Against the Falcons in Atlanta, you lose that. Against the Bills in Seattle, you win that. Against the Rams in Seattle, you win that. Against the 49ers at Santa Clara, you lose that. Against the Cardinals in Seattle, you win that. You lose against the Jets in New York. You win against the Cardinals Well, no, you lose against the Cardinals in Arizona. You lose against the Packers in Seattle. That's going to be a really close game, in my opinion. You win against the Vikings in Seattle. Seahawks Bears is probably for the playoffs. That's probably, well, you got Seahawks Rams at the end too. So you win against the Bears in Chicago, and you lose in SoFi to the Rams. Another 9, 10, 11 win team. This division is like this. It's so stacked up at the top. The 49ers, your Rams, like yes, the 49ers have an advantage. It's not that big, but they do have an advantage in the division. But for the Rams and for the Seahawks, they're right there, in my opinion. They're right there, especially if like people like Byron Murphy pop and JSN becomes a monster. Like, I think that they have a lot of potential to possibly, shock a couple people. Let's go to San Francisco. Roster-wise, we don't even have to go. I mean, it's Purdy, it's McCaffrey, it's Juszczyk, it's Ayuk, Ronnie Bell, kid from Michigan. It's Joan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, who got shot, but he's okay. He will miss the first 4 games of the season. He got shot on a robbery after a autograph signing. He's going to be fine. You got Debo, you got Kittle. But what are you going to do with Trent? Is Trent going to play? Colton McKivitz. Is Trent Williams going to play week 1? We still don't know. The contract dispute has not been resolved. So we have no idea. You have no clue if this man is actually going to be on the field for the 49ers game 1. And I'm going to base it off he is, because I think Trent wants to play football and put good tape out there. But at the same time, if he's not, it changes the complexity of their season. Okay? And on defense, you got Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Devondre Campbell, Demetrius Flanagan Foles, Fred Warner, Renardo Green, the rookie from Florida State, Lenore, Charvarius Ward, Rock Yassin, which I think they released, if I'm not mistaken. Jair Brown, Isaac Yadam, Talanoa Ofanga, Malik Mustafa, the kid from Wake Forest, and George Odom. Like, it's stacked, guys. It's stacked. It's the 49ers. We know what it is. Against Monday, against the Jets, inside of Santa Clara, you win. Versus the Vikings in Minnesota, you win. Against the Rams in SoFi, you win. You destroy the Patriots in Santa Clara. You destroy the Cardinals in Santa Clara. You don't destroy the Seahawks, but you win in Seattle. You lose against the Chiefs in Santa Clara. You win against the Cowboys in Santa Clara. You win against the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. You win against the Seahawks in Santa Clara. You lose versus the Packers in Lambeau. You lose versus the Bills in Buffalo. You win versus the Bears in Santa Clara. You lose versus the Dolphins in Miami. And then you win versus the Lions in Santa Clara. And then you win against the Cardinals in Arizona. 12 to 13 win team, possibly 14. Number 1 seed, same thing as last year. Can they get it done in the biggest moment against, if it is Mahomes? Can you get it done? That's all Kyle Shanahan needs is a Super Bowl ring. He's gotten there multiple times at this point. He's played really well in the playoffs. Can you beat the man? But that's the outlook for the 49ers. It's literally like, I don't want to say Super Bowl or bust, but it kind of is. Like, that's what the team they have. And then finally, Arizona. This is a very open take here because you got Kyler, of course. Trey Benson, the rookie from Florida State. You still got James Conner. You have Amari DeMarcado, the second-year running back from TCU. Then you got Greg Dortch, Marvin Harrison Jr., who we expect to be an absolute superstar and a stud. Zay Jones, Chris Moore, Zach Pascal, and Xavier Weaver, the rookie from Colorado. And then Michael Wilson. At tight end, you got Trey McBride, who I like a lot. And then it gets into, Hyalte Furlholt at guard, Kelvin Beachum at tackle, Paris Johnson Jr. I expect another great season from him. And then Jonah Williams at your tackle. Then you got L.J. Collier, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols at your DTs, Dante Stills, Curious Tonga, Zaven Collins at your linebacker, Dennis Gardeck, the Viking, at your linebacker, Xavier Thomas, Kaiser White, Mac Wilson, Kentrell Clark, Darren Hall, Max Milton, Sean Murphy Bunting, Darian Taylor Demerson at safety, and then Jalen Thompson and Joey Blount and Buda Baker. That's it. So it's kind of like Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Buda Baker, and then what? Like, you don't even have a defined pass rusher. Like who's your pass rusher? Who's the guy that you want to go after the quarterback? Zaven Collins? Dennis Gardeck? Who is it? You don't got any. What I'm looking at, you don't got any. So they're betting on a lot that's there and really not there, And then if we go to their schedule, you're losing against the Bills in Buffalo. You're losing against the Rams in your own house. You're losing against the Lions. Against the Commanders at Arizona, you win. You lose against the 49ers in Santa Clara. You lose against the Packers. You're losing against the Chargers. You're losing against the Dolphins in Miami. You're losing against the Bears. I think you win against the Bears in Arizona. You lose against the Seahawks in Seattle. Very tough one. I think you win against the Vikings because of them not having J.J. McCarthy. I think you win against the Vikings in Minnesota. Cardinals, Seahawks again, but in Arizona. I still think you lose that game just because talent-wise, it's just not there. You win against the Patriots in Arizona. You win against the Panthers in Carolina. You lose against the Rams in SoFi, and you lose against the 49ers in Arizona. Maybe not. Maybe they don't play anybody who, because it's the last game of the season, they're already clinched. They have the bye. So maybe they don't play nobody, but if they do, you're losing that too. So I love Kyler. I've loved Kyler since Oklahoma. Love Marvin Harrison Jr., love Trey Benson, love Rich Gannon. But the facts are the facts. And you are a 5-6 win team. Okay? Maybe you could stretch it out to 6, 7, maybe 8. But you're not. Unless you show us this year that you are Kyler Murray completely back and Marvin Harrison Jr. is the next coming of Jerry Rice or his own father, there's not much you're doing, guys. I hate to break it to you guys. Like, I want to root for you, but the schedule's not panning out for you, So that's the NFC West. And now to the division of the champion, AFC West. The Broncos. Sean Payton, year 2. No Russell Wilson, his own quarterback. What type of season are they looking at? It all rides on the arms and shoulders of Bo Nix. We got Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson. Hopefully we don't see Stidham or Wilson. We have Bo Nix, a rookie in Audric estimate, but it's probably going to be Javonte Williams. I expect a big year from him. Rookie Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Bo Nix's teammate. Marvin Mims Jr., Josh Reynolds, Cortland Sutton, which I expect them to be is number 1. Devon Valet, who's going to be a guy that pops. And that's it, guys. No more Jerry Jeudy. That's it. It is Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Josh Reynolds, Valet, Marvin Mims Jr. That's what you got on the outside. Nate Atkins at tight end, Greg Dulcich, which I believe will be the starting tight end. Then you have Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, a really good offensive line. Garrett Bowles, Frank Crum, Mike McGlinchey, Alex Palczewski, and Matt Peart. I think it's a really good offensive line. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. Then on the defensive side, you have Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, Iwoya Uwazurike, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, Cody Barton, Nick Benito, who's going to be their top pass rusher, Jonathan Cooper, the rookie out of Texas A&M at linebacker, probably going to wear the green dot. If not, they're going to line him up down by the line, but I think he's going to wear a green dot. You have Baron Browning as the other linebacker, Alex Singleton, your other linebacker, Jonah Ellis, your other linebacker. And then you got Jaquan McMillan, Riley Moss, Tremont Smith, PS2, Levi Wallace, Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, GL Skinner, and Kadrion Smith. That back end, besides PS2 and Levi Wallace, that's a tough back end there. I hope they can hold up, because when we go to this schedule right here, it's not easy. Against the Seahawks in Seattle, game 1, you're losing. Against the Steelers in Denver, you win. Against the Buccaneers in Tampa, you lose. Against the Jets in New York, you lose. Against the Raiders in Denver, you win. Against the Chargers in Denver, you win. Against the Saints in New Orleans, you win. Against the Panthers in Denver, you win. You lose at Arrowhead against the Chiefs. You lose against the Falcons in Denver. You lose against the Browns in Denver. You beat the Colts in Denver. You lose against the Chargers at SoFi. You lose versus the Bengals in Cincinnati. And then you lose against the Chiefs in Denver. 8-win team. 7-win team. I think it's possible with Bo Nix. I like what I've seen from the kid. It's just the limited amount of wide receiver talent and the defensive side. Can that back end hold up besides PS2? They lost Simmons. They've lost their guys in the back end. So it's going to be interesting for them to adjust. But I think they can, because Sean Payton's a great coach, Hall of Fame coach, and I think that they will make the best out of it in Bo Nix rookie year. Okay, Los Angeles Chargers. This is very simple. Justin Herbert plus Jim Harbaugh equals what? That's it. Brandon Staley couldn't do shit with him and basically wasted his talent. What can Sean Payton do? What can Jim Harbaugh do to instill toughness in this defense and a different mentality on offense to just kill teams? Because that's what the possibility to do. Now, if we look at this, it is Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Hassan Haskins, and it's DJ Chark, Darius Davis, Simi Fioco, which I believe fourth-year guy out of Stanford, Quentin Johnston, who has to show something in year 2, Ladd McConkey, who might be his best receiver, and Joshua Palmer, and Brendan Rice. So in my estimation, number 1 receiver there is between Chark, Johnston, McConkey, Palmer, and Rice. And I'm thinking Palmer, McConkey is going to be his pick. Not a lot of talent out here. McConkey should be really good. He should turn into his number 1 receiver, but we'll see. Then you have Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst as your tight ends. And then you have Zion Johnson, which we expect a big leap from him. You still have Rashawn Slater, should be an all-pro again. Trey Pipkins, Joe Alt, the rookie. He should be plug and play. So offensive line wise, you should be able to run and everything. You should be like that. Okay. Then you have Morgan Fox on the defensive side. Puna Ford. Tier Tart. Joey Bosa, who should have another great year if he doesn't get hurt. Junior Colson, Bud Dupree, Troy Dye, Khalil Mack, who should have another All-Pro season. Tuli Tuipulotu, Denzel Perryman wearing the green dot. Christian Fulton at CB, Cam Hart, Elijah Molden, Asante Samuel Jr., which is your All-Pro back there. Jasir Taylor, AJ Finley, and Derwin James Jr., your older All-Pro. So overall, pretty talented roster. You beat the Raiders in SoFi. You beat the Panthers in Carolina. You beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. You lose versus the Jets in SoFi. You win versus the Broncos in Denver. You win versus the Cardinals in Arizona. You win at SoFi against the Saints. You lose versus the Browns in Cleveland. You win versus the Titans in SoFi. You lose versus the Bengals in SoFi. I'm going to say you lose versus the Falcons in Atlanta. You lose versus the Chiefs in Arrowhead. You win in SoFi versus the Bucks. You win in SoFi versus the Broncos. You win in Foxborough versus the Patriots, and you win in Las Vegas versus the Raiders. 11-win team, 12-win team. That's what you got. That's what Jim Harbaugh has himself set up. Possibly be right there with the wild card. Right there. Right there. Be right there with the wild card. I don't see why not he could challenge for an MVP, that being Justin Herbert. I can't see why not Jim Harbaugh, if he takes him to the playoffs, cannot be a coach of the year. The question is on the outside at wide receiver. The question is, can the defense play defense? And if Jim Harbaugh instills that type of toughness into this team and that type of mentality, the sky's the limit for this team because the talent's there on both sides of the ball. All right, let's go to the elephant in the room. The one where, what do we do with this team? We don't know. Unfortunately, gotta talk about them. Las Vegas Raiders. I love your players, guys, but you have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as your quarterbacks. You're not going absolutely nowhere. Having Alexander Madison and Zamir White, that's cool. Devontae Adams, I feel bad for him because he's not going to have another Devontae Adams season. Jacoby Myers, same thing. Trey Tucker, DJ Turner. I think Brock Bowers should be the number one option along with Devontae Adams, but we'll see. You still have Harrison Bryant. You still have Michael Mayer. You should have the best best tight end duo in the league for sure. Their offensive line, Jackson Powers Johnson, the rookie out of Oregon at guard, Andrews Pete, Munford Jr., Colton Miller, who hasn't been good, Cody Whitehair, it's gonna be tough. Max Crosby, love him. Malcolm Kuntz, love him. I love Tyree Wilson, but he hasn't shown up in 2 years since he got drafted 7th. John Jenkins. You have Jonah Laalu, Nesta Jade Severa, Christian Wilkins is going to be a menace in the inside. Devon Diablo, love him. Tommy Eichenberg. You have Luke Masterson. Kanai Mauga from USC. Second year, Robert Spillane, probably wearing their green dot. Jacorian Bennett. You have Nate Hobbs in the background, Darnay Holmes, Jack Jones, which would be your number one corner. DeCamerion Richardson, the rookie out of Mississippi State. Marcus Epps, You got Thomas Harper, Trayvon Morrig, Isaiah Polamau, and Chris Smith Sr. So, like, the second. Top heavy. Davante Adams, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. Top heavy. That's what I see. And the regular season, it is not pretty. They're losing against the Chargers in SoFi, losing against the Ravens in Baltimore. They can win against the Panthers, but they have the disadvantage of not having the better quarterback, I think, in my opinion. I think Bryce is going to be a lot better than last year. But just for the sake of argument, I believe in Max Crosby. They win at home versus the Panthers. They're losing at home versus the Browns. They're losing in Denver versus the Broncos. They're losing. Yeah, I think they lose to the Steelers just because, like, even though they're at home, just because of that pass rush, TJ Watt, that offensive line can't handle it. They lose against the Rams in SoFi. They lose versus the Chiefs in Las Vegas. They lose versus the Bengals in Cincinnati. They lose versus the Dolphins in Miami. They lose versus the Broncos in Las Vegas. They lose versus the Chiefs in Arrowhead. They lose versus the Buccaneers in Tampa. They lose versus the Falcons in Las Vegas. They lose versus the Jaguars in Las Vegas. They lose versus the Saints. And then they lose versus the Chargers. This is a 4-win team. This is a 4-win team. Like, if we look at teams that they can maybe beat, the Broncos, maybe the Bucks, maybe the Steelers, maybe the Browns. That's about it. So at max 6 wins, not pretty at all. At all. Like, at all. Still, the Raiders cannot get out of their own way. They need a quarterback, especially in this conference. Like, they're just going to get buried. And it's unfortunate because they're one of the true classic teams in NFL history with a lot of history. Now to the defending champs, going for a three-peat. We don't have to do all this hoopla. We're going to go through it, but it's Patrick Mahomes. It's Isaiah Pacheco. It's Hollywood Brown, although he's not there for week 1. McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice. Hopefully he can play the whole season. Juju, they brought back. Justin Watson, Xavier Worthy, hoping that he becomes the next Tyreek, basically. Noah Gray, Peyton Hendershot, Travis Kelce, the GOAT of tight ends. Then you have Creed Humphrey, Mike Caliendo, C.J. Hansen, Trey Smith, Joe Tooney, Ethan Driscoll, Kingsley Sumateo, and then Jawan Taylor. They somehow piece it together and make it work. On the defensive side, you got Felix Anduke Ozuma, Mike Dana, Malik Herring, George Karlaftis. I expect a big jump from him. Chris Jones, the best D tackle in the game, future Hall of Famer. Derek Nottie, Mike Pennell, Tershawn Wharton, Nick Bolton. You're wearing your green dot. Leo Chenal could wear your green dot, but I think it's Nick Bolton going to wear your green dot. The last 2 years he's done it. Leo Chenal, I expect big things from him. Jack Cochran, Cam Jones, Drew Tranquil, expect big things from him this year again. Trent McDuffie, expect shutdown season. He's moving to the outside. I think he's going to do great. Christian Wallace, Jalen Watson, another good season at corner. Joshua Williams, same thing. You got Brian Cook back at safety after his injury. And then Justin Reed, your starting safety back there. Towns there, you still got Harrison Buckner. Like, you don't, yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the PUP list, but he should be fine. Got Bailey Zappi on the practice squad, which is hilarious. So yeah, if we go to the scores, this is going to be, they're going for the three-peat. I think they win against the Ravens in the opener. Banner night, excitement. They don't want to lose another home opener, especially after winning a Super Bowl. They did last year with no Kelsey and no Chris Jones. I think they win this one versus the Ravens. immediately against the Bengals. They win against the Bengals in Arrowhead. Then they go against the Falcons. They beat the Falcons in Atlanta. They beat the Chargers in San Diego. In SoFi. They beat the Saints in Arrowhead. I think they lose versus the 49ers in Santa Clara. They win again in Las Vegas against the Raiders. They win against the Buccaneers at Arrowhead. They win against the Broncos at Arrowhead. They lose versus the Bills in Buffalo. They win versus the Panthers in Carolina. They win again versus the Raiders in Arrowhead. They win again against the Chargers at Arrowhead. They win against the Browns in Cleveland. They lose versus the Texans in Arrowhead. That's going to be a very big game. People are going to be asking, why they lose at home? Yes, they lose at home. CJ comes in there, takes their bacon. They win against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and they win against the Broncos in Denver. 13 wins. 12 to 15 wins is what I'm expecting from this team. I'm expecting them to be the number 1 seed. I'm expecting my dark horse candidate for MVP is CJ Stroud. My MVP candidate is, again, Patrick Mahomes. I expect Xavier Worthy to be a hit. I expect Travis Kelce to be more open than ever since the Tyreek days. Rashee Rice to take over that yak role. Hollywood Brown, once he gets back, I expect him to be full go, have 2 deep threats with him and Tyreek. I think they're going to create a lot of problems and matchups and more open for Travis Kelce. The defense is still going to dominate, and the three-peat is very, very, very much alive. That is your breakdown for all your 8 divisions in the NFL before the season starts. I think the three-peat is definitely attainable. I think it's more than 50% that they can happen. It's barring injury, and then somebody like C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love or, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen, maybe even Trevor Lawrence, wakes up or something like that. Like, that's what it's going to take to knock off the king, Patrick Mahomes. To finish it off with baseball, we got New York and Baltimore are tied atop of the AL East with 1 month to go. Cleveland has a 3.5 game lead on Minnesota, 4.5 game lead on Kansas City. As of right now, it's about the wild card for Kansas City and the Twins. Because Cleveland seems like they're gonna sure up the division, but anything can happen with a month left. Houston has their biggest lead of the season on Seattle. They have 6 games on them. I think Houston has put away that division. Philly has 7 games up on Atlanta. I think they put away the division there after a little rocky little patch there for a few weeks. Milwaukee is leading by 10 games over the Cubs. They're done. That's signed, sealed, delivered. That division's over. And then the Dodgers are leading 5 games and 6 games respectively over San Diego and Arizona. And I don't think that's done yet. That's a month of baseball. That's going to be a little tough to just say it's done there. Baltimore has a 5-game lead on KC for the last wild card spot. Baltimore has the first wild card spot. Minnesota has 1-game lead on KC for the second wild card spot, and KC has the last wild card spot, but Boston is 4.5 games back. Detroit's 5 games back. They've been surging. Seattle's 5.5 games back. They still have their pitching. Tampa Bay 7 games back, but I don't think that's attainable. Neither is Toronto at 8 games back, or the defending champions are not even going to make the playoffs. It's official. Boston College upsets FSU. Embarrassing. Then in the National League, you got San Diego has the first wildcard spot by 3.5 games. Arizona has the second one by 2.5 games. And then Atlanta is in that last wildcard spot with the Mets at their heels half a game behind. The Cubs 3.5 games behind. St. Louis 5.5 games behind. And San Francisco 6.5 games behind. That's too much. I think personally it's going to be Baltimore, Minnesota, KC, San Diego, Arizona. I'm going to put the Mets in there because they've been playing their ass off lately. But Atlanta has enough. It's just they're so injured and, they're up and down offensively. Especially like lately they've been waking up, but they can shut down whenever. And then the Mets are a little bit healthier. So I'm going to go with the Mets over the Atlanta for that last wild card spot. Stats-wise, Bobby Witt is at 338, so he's gone down a little bit. Aaron Judge is at 327, so he's gone down a little bit. Vladdy's still at 324. Jordan is at 313. He went up. Luis Arraez is at 310 for your averages. Aaron Judge is at 51 home runs. Shohei's at 44, so he's at 44 and 44 right now in the quest for 50-50 with 1 month left. Anthony Santander has 31. Marcell Ozuna has 37. Juan Soto has 37 home runs-wise. RBIs, Aaron Judge has 123. Jose Ramirez, J-Ram, has 105. Josh Naylor, his teammate, has 100. Willie Adames has 99. And Marcell Ozuna has 98. Bobby is really close to 100. Bobby has 97. He should get to it this week. Same thing with Ohtani. He's at 98. And Soto's at 96. I expect him, as well as Salvador Perez, to get to 100. Interesting guy from the A's, Brent Rooker. He's been hitting the shit out of the ball. He has 93 RBIs. He'll get to 100. So that's really good for the A's for their future. And then you go down to hits, and Bobby's at 187. He will get to 200. Luis Arraez at 171. Vladdy's at 170. Jaden Duran is at 168. And Jose Altuve is at 161. Ellie hasn't stolen another base since he stole the 61st. He's at 61. Ohtani's at 46, so not at 40. So he's at 44 home runs, but he's at 46 stolen bags, so he's 4 away from 50. Bryce Terang has 40, so he's trying to catch up to Ohtani. Caballero has 37. Jose J-Ram has 34. And then Skubal is leading the Triple Crown in pitching, and I believe he will finish with it. He's too good. He's been too nasty. He's going to win. He should win unanimous AL Cy Young. We'll see if that happens, but he has 16 wins leading the league. He has a 2.51 ERA, 2.58 for Chris Sale. Chris Sale's right under him with 15 wins. So this is the two dudes. Zach Wheeler's there, but it just doesn't have what Chris Sale and Tariq Skubal have. Helsley still has 42 saves. Class A has 41. Dylan Cease has 201 Ks. So does Tariq Skubal. So they're tied for Ks right now. So that's the last stat, the last Triple Crown stat that Tariq Skubal needs. Chris Sale's at 197. Reagan's at 197. And Crochet's at 188. Zach Wheeler's at 21 quality starts. Logan Gilbert's at 21. Tariq Skubal's at 20. Seth Lugo's at 19. And Corbin Burns is at 19. I think that's the awards that are going to be more disputed are going to be like your batting titles and your Gold Gloves, because your MVPs are Judge and Ohtani, and your Cy Youngs are Tariq Skubal and Chris Sale. That's it for episode 135, guys. Next episode, we predict week 1 of the NFL season. So excited. That will come to you Thursday. I love you guys. God bless you. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're new. Comment, follow me on all my socials, and I leave you guys with the outro.
Que todos quieren ser el chamaquito que no puede